Hello. George Sorocold was a pioneering hydraulic engineer who played an important role in laying the foundations of the Industrial Revolution. His background is a little hazy, but it's believed he was born to a middle-class Lancashire family who moved to Derby either soon after or just before George was born, around 1666. A merchant family based in London have a very similar, uncommon surname and were probably relatives. There is a record of his marriage in December 1684 in All Saints Church, now Derby Cathedral. He was educated at Emmanuel College, Cambridge, before returning to Derby and a career as an engineer. Among his first jobs was working on a water supply in the Cheshire town of Macclesfield, beginning to be known as a centre of silk weaving, which was done on hand looms using silk thread imported from Bologna and the Piedmont region of what is now Italy, where the production methods for throwing silk were closely guarded. Back in Derby, he was involved in recasting and rehanging the bells at All Saints, the oldest 10-bell ring in the world. Between 1691 and 1693, Sorocold installed a piped water supply in Derby, acknowledged as the first proper piped water supply in England outside London. Water was taken from the River Derwent by a waterwheel driven mechanism that created a vacuum and used hydraulic power to pump water to a tank above a cistern in a yard at the rear of St Michael's Church in Queen Street, situated sufficiently high enough for water to be gravity fed to private houses in 23 surrounding streets and to a public conduit in the marketplace. Water feeding from the tank into the cistern below powered a machine, later patented by Sorocold, to bore the elm trunks used to construct 4.5 miles of pipeline required by the system, which remained in use until 1829 and was not fully replaced until a Town Improvement Act of 1848. The water wheel on the Derwent was cleverly designed to rise and fall with the water level of the river to ensure a continuous steady force. Sorocold went on to work on similar systems elsewhere, including at Alloa in Scotland, Bridgnorth, Bristol, Deal, Exeter, Great Yarmouth, Islington, King's Lynn, Leeds, Newcastle on Tyne, Norwich, Nottingham, Portsmouth and Sheffield. The system at Bridgnorth remained in use until 1859. He also designed water systems for private estates in Derbyshire, including at the newly remodelled Baroque mansion of Cork Abbey for Sir John Harper and at Melbourne Hall for Thomas Cook. Sorocold's pumping machinery was also modified for use in iron forges and for mines drainage. In 1701, Sorocold was engaged to reconstruct the waterworks on the River Thames, originally built by water engineer Peter Maurice in 1581 and rebuilt after the Great Fire of London in 1666. Power for the system was supplied by a large, tide-driven water wheel set beneath the northernmost arch of Old London Bridge. It was a private enterprise. Maurice had rented the space beneath the bridge for 10 shillings a year and charged for supplying the city with water. At 6 revolutions per minute, Maurice's wheel generated around 32 horsepower. Rebuilt by Sorocold, the system operated until 1822, when it was removed to make way for a new London bridge. In the pre-canal era, Sorocold put his engineering expertise to work on improving river navigation on the River Dee, the River Lee from Hertfordshire to its tidal estuary Bow Creek in the Thames, making the River Aire in West Yorkshire navigable to Leeds, and the Cam from Cambridge to the Great Ouse. In 1703, appearing before a House of Lords committee, giving evidence in support of making the River Derwent navigable from Derby to the River Trent, he was described as Mr. Sorocold, the engineer, the first documented occasion of the term engineer being used in a civil rather than a military sense. In 1709, Sorocold began a collaboration with Thomas Steers to build the world's first commercial wet dock at Liverpool, Previously, ships had unloaded their cargo at an enlarged natural creek on the banks of the River Mersey, the Liverpool. As a result of the dock, Liverpool became a major seaport and Sorocold was made a free man of the city. In his hometown of Derby, Sorocold designed a system using a water wheel to drive machinery for a 3-storey silk mill being built by Thomas Cotchett on Byflat Island in the River Derwent, the first water-powered silk mill in England. Cotchett, a solicitor, had worked with Huguenot silk weavers in London's Spitalfields. 8 spinning machines based on a Dutch design were installed. The Dutch machines were inferior to those used in Bologna and Piedmont, where the mechanised processes involved were kept secret. Cotchett's venture proved unviable, but among the apprentices employed was John Lom, from a family who ran a small silk and wool weaving business in Norfolk. With his half-brother Thomas, John Lom took over Cotchett's mill and travelled to Piedmont. Precisely what went on there is unknown, but bribery and industrial espionage were probably involved. Whatever the means, Lom returned to Derby with detailed drawings of machinery and a number of Piedmontese workmen whom he had persuaded to relocate. Patents for machines to wind, spin and twist raw silk based on the Piedmontese designs were obtained in 1719, and work began on a new 5-storey water-powered mill. An Italianate tower may have been a deliberate attempt to associate the business with the market leaders. The enterprising John Lom died in 1722 in mysterious circumstances, according to one rumour, poisoned by a woman sent from Piedmont. Thomas Lom took over, and George Sorocold was commissioned to design and install the complicated machinery, which involved 10,000 spindles and 25,000 spinning bobbin reels. Lom's silk mill is regarded as the first factory, a mass production system using a common power source to transmit energy to all floors of a multi-storey building via a complex gearing of rods and cogs. When Lom's patent ran out in 1732, other mills followed on the same plan, notably at Macclesfield and Stockport. Derby Silk Mill ended production in 1908. The mill was rebuilt after a fire in 1910 and was used for various purposes before being adapted as an industrial museum in the 1970s. It is now home to the Museum of Making. The market for silk grew in the 18th century, but it was never going to rival the demand for cotton for everyday wear. Developments in cotton manufacture will be my topic next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.